Well, it is mid-September 2025, which is unbelievably over a year since I posted the last video. The hard landscaping has continued to massively delay things, but we're getting there slowly. This is a east-facing wall, so this is a sour cherry Iranian variety called Abaloo, which I got from Keeper's Nursery, which I'm quite pleased with that. Beside it, a really vigorous variety of climbing rose called Mermaid, which has been decidedly unhappy. I think I'm worried the ground may be very compacted there, although it's new soil. It was very wet when I planted it last winter, and it just has done absolutely nothing and looked pretty miserable. So I plan on digging that up this winter, maybe incorporating some more organic matter and replanting it and hoping it does better next year. This is a new border on the right, but we'll come to that later. So the hard landscaping over there is nearly done. I'm hoping in the next couple of days that will be the bricklayer out of here. We're still going to have a bit of path done here, but that's going to be at a later date. But anyway, this is the first border I did, which I'm quite pleased with. There's been some mistakes, but we'll maybe start at the far end. There's a dog palace. So that is a little micro-propagated Schefflera Taiwaniana, which I forget where I got it from now, but it has done precisely nothing and looked fairly unhappy ever since it's been in the ground, which would be late spring. Hopefully it picks up next year, but it hasn't really done an awful lot. At the back there, that's Naphia Dioica, if that's the right pronunciation. I was hoping it would be a bit bigger. Possibly this Colocasia pink china needs to get booted to the back next year, and that needs to be brought to the front. But I think I've been meaning to look it up and see how big it supposedly gets, but we'll see. At the back there is a Hedychium. That is Spicatum acuminatum, and see another flower starting there. Really pleased, really love the leaf shape on that. It's got good height. Hopefully it comes through. I'm definitely going to mulch it well, but that's a west facing wall, so hopefully there should be a bit of retained warmth off that in the winter. Morellii, Enseti Morellii has done well. It's starting to look a bit wind battered now. We've had quite a lot of wind, but it's still pushing out rollers. I'm going to obviously try and overwinter it in the garage. I've got no greenhouse, so I'll have to cut all the leaves off and dry it out and hopefully get it through. Indian summer continuing to flower away. You can see some Persicaria red dragon coming through there, rambling through everything, which I like the look of that. This is a supposedly hardy Phytolacca called Polyandra. It's quite a fair beast. It's actually planted quite well back there, but it's leant forward on everything. We'll see if that's hardy. And we've got a little Crocosmia there called Buttercup, and this is a canna called Happy Emily, little dwarf canna. It's flowered fantastically. I haven't been very good at clearing off the spent flower heads. It does look a bit scruffy from time to time, but if you had more time. Euphorbia, mine is Merlot, looking good. This is a acanthus which I got from Pan Global. It's got pink stems and it's called Wofford's rhubarb. I like the name. I'm not sure the pink stems really add an awful lot, but that looks great. Glossy leaves. This is a little ground cover rubus Pentabulus Taroko Loco, which layers itself away on the ground. That little corner there, basically there's no soil, it's all foundations of the wall, so I shoved that pot in there and I've pinned that in there, so hopefully that roots into there but stays connected to the main plant, because I doubt I'll be very good at watering that. And then I would say one of the mistakes in here, that at the back, is another rubus. That's Calophyllus, which has been frazzled at the beginning of the year when it was early summer when it was very hot, and then it's been completely swamped by the phytolacca. So that's going to be coming out of there next year, assuming it's still alive. No, there is still some life down there, and get put somewhere else with less sun. And then here we have Phylostachys, Vivax aureocalis. You can see there it's still putting out some new culms. I also noticed the other day it is on the move. I'm going to rebury those. I'm going to direct them further back this direction and then cut the tips off and rebury them, and hopefully they throw some culms up in that area. I'm not overly fussed in here because that wall has got massive great foundations on it, so it's not really going anywhere, he says. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this. Some mistakes, some tweaking I think next year. I'm not sure I will put that Enseti back in here next year, but it's I had it. This was the first bit that I could plant once this path was done. So I'm pleased. It's looked good. This was the second area I planted, which to be honest has really suffered from too much sun. That wall casts a fair amount of shade for the first few feet, but beyond that it's really baked this year, and it's been so hot. That is a later addition, the Polonia, which I will cut that down a bit, but I'm hoping as that fills out it'll give some more shade. And then we've got that Cidrella tuna, which will fill out in time as well. And it's got a split stem, and I'm going to try and bend those apart slightly to give more coverage. That is south facing that direction. So hopefully we've got more shade in time. Whether I'll have to find something to plug the gap remains to be seen. I've also got a plan for trying to make this rather ugly part of the wall look a bit nicer. There we've got Fatsia polyandra green fingers. Like a lot of people, I've seen other people say it, all the new growth was rather sort of distorted in the spring, and I was a bit disappointed because I've never had one of these and always wanted one. But the later growth has looked absolutely fantastic. Little epimedium there, spine tingler, and the Impatiens Omiana Sango there. What else have we got in here? Cuba, Japonica longifolia, which again, that should get some height. That's quite an unusual fern I got from Pan Global. That is Coniogram intermedia Yaroi Musha, hell of a name, but that's looking quite healthy. There is another fern down there with a weed. That one's name escapes me. You got Spotty Dotty there, Persicaria. Which one is that? Remind myself. Compton's Red. You've got Aurelia Cordata Sun King, which once it's actually got some roots down, it's starting to look pretty good. That should get a fair bit taller next year. Then we've got a little ground cover here, Aeomicon Chianantha. It spreads by sort of underground runners, and I noticed when I planted this Rubus ichangensis the other day, which got rather droughted in the pot, but I noticed the sort of white runners under the ground, so I'll have to keep an eye on that to see if it's going to be a pain or not. This is a little saxifrage kinky purple. This really did not like it initially, and really frazzled, but since it's got some roots down, it's actually looking quite healthy, and I can see there, just noticed, starting to spread along the edge of the path, which is what I wanted. This Hedychium is Greenii. It has flowered. We've had one flower which is pretty much faded now, red flower there, but it's looking very healthy. These are some Hosta Devon Green, which I moved in here in the middle of the summer, so not an ideal time to move stuff. They can take a bit of sun. They've looked a little frazzled at points, but they're doing okay. Hardy begonia there. And then that is a Berinda newjangensis. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's thrown up a new culm there. It's doing okay. What else have we got here? That is a rather unhappy looking, oh well, it's end of season, really fading, autumn fading Crocosmia, fantastic Crocosmia called Paul's Best Yellow. But that should bulk up over the next year or two and look really good. This is from Desert to Jungle. That's Courtlia spicata Aaron's Flame. I saw a garden on YouTube the other day that they'd really planted this in quite big clumps, so I may well try and see if I can squeeze a bit more of that in. It hasn't really liked the full sun so much, but as that bamboo gets up, this whole area will get more shade in time. That's a Metapanax Davidi, which I got from Big Plant Nursery. That thing absolutely went nuts when it was still in its pot. This was planted mid-summer, so not a great time of year to plant. But I mean, you can see there it's put on well over a foot in the pot. There's a rather unhappy looking hosta there called Pocket Full of Sunshine, which I think needs move a bit. That Persicaria, God, I forget which one's that. It's maybe Painter's Palette. That maybe needs a move across, and those ferns there, Polysteichen polyblepharum, they have really not enjoyed the heat. They were planted as quite small plants, and they've hardly grown at all. There's 3 of them in there. But hopefully, as I say, as the shade increases, you've got the loquat there, you've got the cedrella. As the shade increases in here, they should start to thrive. More Colocasia pink china. There's a couple of plants in there. One got rather swamped by this sanguisorba. This is another pan-global purchase. This is Aplanata. I quite like it. I think it needs a mirror on the other side of the path and maybe thinning out a little bit, but I really, beggars couldn't be choosers in that I had so few places to get plants in the ground, so needs must at the time. This was a Desert to Jungle purchase, this Santadecia. Not a cheap one, this African Gold. It took a while to get going, but it's starting to look quite good there with that afternoon sun on it. Or Rupus pentabulus Taroko Loco. That's a Crocosmia. You'll notice Crocosmia. I'm a bit of a nut. That is a little short one called Spitfire, and I planted some extra culms there, so I've just put the canes in to mark them. That tree is Fermiana simplex, which you don't really seem to see a lot of in tropical style gardens, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. Seems really happy. It's probably put on 18 inches this year. Again, I've seen one in another Norfolk tropical garden this year, which was probably good 20 foot high probably, and looked absolutely great. Stinking hellebore there, that's been a pretty recent plant. Gunnera papensa, that again has struggled from time to time, just with the sun and giving it enough water. It is on drip irrigation, you can just see the drip in there, but from time to time that hasn't been enough. But as the roots establish, that should get away. What else have we got in here? Forgive my broken down shade cloths, which the gale has snapped off in the last couple of days. Farfugium, that is the Japonicum giganteum, so that should get pretty big. This hole I'm standing in is going to be a pond, so I haven't been able to plant down the bank too much because I'm going to be messing around with liners and rocks and so on. So I'm hoping there'll be more chance to maybe put some more Gunnera in and make that a bigger clump. There we've got some Brunnera. Alexander's great. I've tried to plant a few of them to tie this area together. There's a close-up on the Cedrella. What have we got in here? That's an Akuba, which, particularly if it gets some shade, has really fantastic glossy leaves. It looks a little frazzled from the summer, but it seems to be either known as Rosanne or Rosany, depending on where you see it for sale. Ceramatum venosum Indian giant. The main big stem broke off in the wind, and it's thrown up a couple of smaller ones, but not quite the size of the first one. What else have we got? There's a bog standard Fatsia, which is starting to push out some growth. It did not an awful lot for the first few months. Dryopteris wallichiana, that's the dark stem variety. I've got two in there. I'm actually going to dig that one up and move it in due course. It's a bit close to this Schefflera Delavii, which looks very healthy, glossy leaves and everything, but it has grown absolutely precisely not at all. Another begonia, Mahonia soft caress. There's a little oh god, what are we talking about? House Aspidistra, one fat lady. Another Ceramatum, Hart's tongue fern. And then what else have we got here? Yeah, this is one of these micro-propagated Schefflera. This is an Alpina, which they've given a silly name. What is it? Mountain Gem. But really nice red stems on that, and it's pushed out a fair amount of growth.